Welcome, one and all, to my living room. We all know why we have gathered here today. At the time of recording this video, we are 4 days out from knowing the complete, finalized Super Smash Bros. Roster. Which, I was really bouncing around if I even wanted to do this video because I've done so many like it before. But, that old wishlist video I did still gets views for some reason, even though it's horrifically outdated, so for nothing else, I want to give people another option of something to view. We're going to talk about a small selection, I think about 5-ish characters that I want. We're going to talk about the most popular, the most talked about characters after that to really flesh out the scope of what we're looking at here. And as you can tell, very different format here for a Blast Box video. Just sitting here, spitballing in front of you, no script. I'm not gonna talk quick and cut it up nice and neat for the sake of keeping it close to that 10 to 15 minute mark. I want to leave no stone unturned, because if the stone is left unturned now, it will probably remained unturned until 10 years from now when a new Smash game is announced. And also, after talking to a good amount of my viewership, I've learned that a lot of you guys really prefer to consume your YouTube content purely through audio. Like putting on YouTube while you get stuff done, not just sitting down to watch a dedicated video, and I realize that my content is not always the most friendly to that viewing style. So this one is definitely for you guys. No visual humor, no high intensity editing, nice, chill, podcasty video for you. And also, I just don't have enough time to produce a normal video before the day of the reveal, so this is just kind of what I'm capable of producing within this time frame. But that said, I think that's just about enough of an intro. Let's go ahead and dive on in. 5 characters that I want to see in this game and think would be overall a positive inclusion to the game. Unlike my last wish list, I really wanted these 5 to not only be characters that I am very passionate about, but that I think truly bring the necessary value to this game, and characters that I think a majority of people could get behind or understand. I almost certainly am the biggest possible supporter of Makoto in Smash, but I can't deny I don't think that character would be all too crowd-pleasing. And I may really love Doom and want to see Doom Guy, but I'm just not convinced that from a moveset perspective he would be the healthiest, most interesting inclusion to the game. So all those little asterisks that characters have, if any character had a little hiccup or something that made them feel less than perfect, I just scrapped them. And for the first 2 characters, I believe the first 2 characters are both first party, and I really got into the headspace of the last Fighter Pass ended with Byleth. So are they going to attempt something similar, right? Are we going to go for a character, as Nintendo or Sakurai, I forget who put it, the intent with Byleth was to include a character from a game that players are experiencing, now-ish. I think Three Houses was about 6 months old when Byleth got revealed. So I was looking for a very modern, probably Nintendo character, a game that had come out semi-recently, which actually doesn't give you as many options as you might think right now. But the character that I ultimately landed on, and I think it's a character that's been talked about since pre-Brawl, Paper Mario. Someone that I used to really want, then started to not want much at all, and now I'm back to thinking it's a really smart potential inclusion. Here's the thing about Paper Mario. Very universally beloved character in games among the Nintendo sphere, and one that crosses multiple generations, which is very important for a universal appeal character. People of my age will talk all day long about 64, Thousand Year Door, Super Paper Mario, genuinely one of my favorite trilogies in games ever, if you want to call it a trilogy. But we would always clown on the newer games, right? The 3 newest ones, Sticker Star, Color Splash, Origami King. And yeah, I don't really love any of those games. But what I have noticed is that it's a very, you see this in Pokemon, you see this in Star Wars, we're seeing it with the prequels right now. The kids who grew up with modern Paper Mario are getting old enough to a point where they can come on the internet and point at the old folk like me and tell us why we're wrong. Tell us why they love those newer Paper Mario games. Those newer games have been able to speak to a new generation, even if it doesn't speak to mine. And I think that really boosts why Paper Mario could be an appealing Smash exclusive. It was really eye-opening to me. I mean, I think a majority of people were ultimately positive on Origami King, and I'd say I was more positive than negative on it, even if I haven't really thought about it much since I finished it. But that's enough about the love of the character. Of course, it's Mario. All Nintendo fans are going to have some connection to Mario. A lot of Nintendo fans do have some sort of endearment to one of the Paper Mario games. I'm sure most of you listening do to some capacity. In Smash itself, right off the bat, if you're concerned that Paper Mario would be an echo or a clone of Mario, no need to fear that would be so just... I can't even fathom how poor of a decision that would be. They're not even remotely similar. And the variety that Paper Mario could bring is really unprecedented. He might be able to bring the most variety of anyone we're going to talk about today, because Paper Mario's combat, his style, what he does, it varies so drastically from game to game to the point where you're probably not going to be able to represent the entire Paper Mario franchise in a single moveset, which is a bummer, because I imagine they'd go for a moveset based on the newer games, which isn't what I personally would want. But I gotta be honest that even if they wanted to entirely base the moveset off Origami King, it's just so much to do there, and better yet, also very much like Byleth, Paper Mario, I feel, is a very naturally healthy character for this game. Paper Mario, they probably would throw some sort of gimmick on top of him, probably like a paint meter or confetti meter, maybe partners if they wanted to be cool about it. But he doesn't have to be that way. Paper Mario, you could call him safe, and I know that has a bit of a negative connotation to it, but it's a character that most Nintendo fans have a love for, or at least a liking for in some way, and unquestionably has room for like you could make 3 movesets out of that guy. You could make 6 movesets out of that guy, 1 for each game. It's so different. The timing is similar to Byleth in that he had a recent game. It's not quite as recent as Three Houses was. I know it's about a year old, a little over a year old at this point. But as far as a more modern Nintendo choice, I think he's one of the more successful options. The Switch era is very well fleshed out and represented. Yeah, as much as I personally want Dixie, and a lot of people want Waluigi, and we'll probably end up talking about Waluigi more in depth before the video's over, no first party had that special mix of legacy and possibility that Paper Mario did, and I am much more enthusiastic about that character as a result. So that is Paper Mario. And next up, this one is not going to take much time at all. This is the first repeat from the wishlist video I did. I want to talk about Astral Chain Hero, as they are now canonically called in the Smash universe, thanks to that Spirit event. Does the Spirit event mean they're probably not going to be included? Sure, but people hate fan rules, right? You guys hate when we deal in absolutes in Smash conversation, so there's a chance. And this part's going to go real quick, because the sole reason I still want to include them, even though I've already talked about Astral Chain Hero, is that of anyone I'm talking about, of any potential character you could possibly add to Smash, this is the character I would be most excited to play as in a fighting game. More than my most wanted characters, more than Makoto even, the Astral Chain Hero certainly has a huge wide array of options for a moveset. I think most people imagine them as a puppet character controlling the 5 legions, but they have a wonderful combination of being able to do so much between their 3 weapons, baton, I don't know what's called, the greatsword looking thing, and their gun, the 5 legions that you can either maybe swap between or they just come out for different attacks. But also, it's wrapped up in an aesthetic package that would just make a really cool looking character. And, that's the thing, you can have a really cool moveset that doesn't necessarily look cool. Or you can have a moveset that looks really cool, but isn't that fun to use in its execution, and I think the Astral Chain Hero has a really thrilling combination of different possible options, but also all of those options are tools that we haven't really seen a character use that much. We've seen a puppet character at Rosalina and Luma, but I think controlling 5 legions is a little different from that, and having the character's melee combat be focused around a baton, a gun, and what I'm calling a sword, but take a look at that. How unsword-like does that look? Rarely does a character present so much variety but also so much uniqueness in every single one of those potential options within that variety, and wrap it up in such a thrilling and appealing package, like instantly appealing upon seeing it. And I think that would be one of the absolute best to bring a universally appealing moveset. Kind of like when Sakurai talked about Terry, right? Before he went into talking about Terry's moveset, he said that he really hopes the presentation can convey the appeal of the character. And I think Astral Chain Hero being in Smash would really convey the appeal of the character in that game, bringing over its style in a really mechanically satisfying moveset. I've never played as a puppet character, but for some reason the thought is really appealing here. Maybe because I consider Astral Chain like the fighting game of hack and slash games. You can't just go in Astral Chain and button mash the way you can in, Nier Automata, No More Heroes, Devil May Cry. Not that that's a bad thing, it's just a design choice. It's another modern, you could say, promotional Nintendo pick. I do hope this becomes a series. It looks like it might, probably, it's sold over 1 million. Have the male and female variants, give them a color swap that changes them to the colors of Akira Howard. It's a character that may not garner a lot of initial hype upon reveal, because I imagine a lot of Smash fans, most Smash fans have not played Astral Chain, but I think the content itself, both in character and stage and music, would ultimately win people over, similar to what Terry accomplished with the SNK pack. Moving right along to character number 3. Okay, this one's gonna be fun to talk about for me. So in my previous wishlist video, I talked about visual novel characters. Visual novels being a genre that I only started getting into, I guess I can't say recently anymore, somewhat recently, past 2 or 3 years. And easily, the 2 visual novel choices, as I believe I said in that previous video, I may be misremembering, Phoenix Wright, Monokuma, or Makoto Naegi / a hero-style conglomerate of all Danganronpa protagonists. Danganronpa, Ace Attorney. 2 visual novels people want to see in Smash, usually through Monokuma and Phoenix Wright. And this is really fun for me because more than any other character we're going to talk about today, my journey with these series has grown and extended so much beyond what it was at when I made that last video. I believe when I made my last wish list, I had finished Danganronpa 1, and I had finished the Ace Attorney trilogy, the HD re-release of the first 3 Phoenix Wright games. And since then, I have played all of the Danganronpa games, and I have played Apollo Justice, Investigations 1, and Dual Destinies, so I have doubled the number of Ace Attorney games that I have played since that last wish list. And regardless of the character I'm about to choose here, I really adore both of these series. They're not perfect, but I really, really cherish my time with them, and I'm thrilled that I'm at a point in my life where I still have a few more Ace Attorney adventures to look forward to. Even though I'm bummed that I am out of Danganronpa adventures, I still feel extremely satisfied by my time with those games. I think about them just as much now as I did when I completed them. 2 have now become near and dear series for me. And I did say that I wanted Phoenix Wright, he was the character on the wish list, but I liked Danganronpa more than Ace Attorney at the time of recording that video. So I said maybe if I play the rest of the series, and if the quality keeps up, I'll want Monokuma more than Phoenix. So where do we stand today? Well, Danganronpa absolutely kept up its quality throughout the series, and as much as I really don't love comparing these two, I gotta say, I do love Danganronpa a good bit more than I enjoy Ace Attorney, even if I do love both. Beyond like the audio and visual presentation, which I do feel is just plainly better in Danganronpa, and how it evolves the gameplay for mystery novel, detective, trial-based games, whatever you want to call them. That aside, when I go into a visual novel, I've learned this about myself through the ones I've played, even beyond these 2 series. I want to see as much depth as possible in character and in theming. And that is what Danganronpa is all about. That is what it does. And it does it brilliantly. V3 is probably my favorite visual novel ever, specifically for those 2 reasons on top of its presentation and all that stuff. And while I do seriously enjoy Ace Attorney, it is not nearly as concerned with exploring its characters to that degree, or providing really thought-provoking either, psychological or philosophical themes to consider. It's a lot lighter, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with being light. I have to sneeze, and it's not coming. Please let me sneeze so I can keep recording. Please. Pardon me. You see, that's why we write scripts. I never would have written a sneeze into the script at that part. So unprofessional. But yeah, Ace Attorney is still great. Ace Attorney, I've realized, is very much the Marvel Cinematic Universe of video games in that it is always well written. The characters are always unapologetically likable and endearing. And the series is absolutely terrified of diving in too deep, having too much nuance, saying something too profound, or being too challenging. Which is frustrating to me, comfortable to some. I get it. It does mean that when Ace Attorney wants to explore its characters more, like Phoenix has a fair amount of character development throughout the series, and there's a lot of subtlety to it, which I really do appreciate, because that's something I've realized with Japanese storytelling, at least in the video game space, as I've broadened my exposure to Japanese storytelling, is that they don't usually choose the angle of subtlety. If the game is doing something smart, if a character is feeling something, it is going to let you know. Characters have a grunt for every possible emotion they could be feeling, just in case the audience isn't smart enough to pick up on it themselves. But Ace Attorney doesn't do that, because it can't do that, there is no grunting. You could play the entire Ace Attorney trilogy thinking that Phoenix Wright is largely an unchanged man throughout that trilogy, and that's totally fine, games are still fun. What is this video about again? That I have a bullet-pointed list right here, and I just completely trailed off. Monokuma. One of my favorite villain presences in gaming. I like Danganronpa more. You could pluck any main cast member from a Danganronpa game and they are going to make an exceptional fighting game character. So with that said, let's talk about why I still want Phoenix Wright to be the character that gets into Smash. Despite my series preference, I do still want Phoenix to be the one that gets into Smash more, and a couple reasons for that. I admittedly am a sucker for Nintendo Connection in my third parties. I want them to have some sort of significance to Nintendo and this fan base, just because I know that's going to be more universally appealing to more people. Danganronpa is bigger than Ace Attorney, it's more popular than Ace Attorney, it has had a longer lasting, more ever-present legacy, people discuss it more, but specifically for the Nintendo world. Nintendo knows Ace Attorney. It is a DS classic. They know Phoenix Wright. They know the memes. They at least know... You've at least heard Objection before. And I really prefer it for Smash characters when they get announced, and if people get interested in that character because of the Smash inclusion, they can turn on their Switch, go to the eShop, and play a game with that character in it. It's not a requirement. I loved seeing Joker. Banjo was great, and you can't play those on Switch, and that's fine, but if I can choose, I would rather people be able to have access to these games. There's nothing that hurts more than seeing someone develop an interest in a game, ask what platform it's on, you tell them, and they can't play it just because of the hardware they own. And Ace Attorney is the series that is hopefully still going, right? I haven't played 6 yet, but I assume it doesn't end on such a final note that there can't be a 7. People seem to want a 7. Danganronpa has, for the most part, wrapped up. We do have that party game coming out, and I know Danganronpa's gonna be on Switch soon, but it's not yet, which is why I'm still leaning towards Phoenix and all that. But I don't think there's gonna be a Danganronpa 4. I don't want a Danganronpa 4. I am so happy with where the series ended. So Phoenix's legacy will hopefully continue into the future. And I'm sure I mentioned this the last time I talked about him, but we know Phoenix makes a great fighting game character, one of my absolute favorites in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And I don't want them to just port over that moveset, but the proof is there, it can work. And Monokuma could certainly be a good fighter as well, but I admit, and this is completely a me thing, I have a much harder time visualizing Monokuma in a fighting game than Phoenix. I can much more easily picture Makoto Naegi than I can Monokuma. But Phoenix, you'd be a super memey, slapsticky character. You'd probably still incorporate finding evidence that powers you up in some way. More evidence you have, stronger you are, however they want to do it. So I think this community would respond better to Phoenix. I can more easily conceptualize Phoenix. And this third point is super personal. I don't know how many people will be able to relate to this, but if Phoenix is Challenger Pack 11, dear lord, I want to get Apollo Justice as an Echo Fighter. It makes too much sense not to. And you could do an alt costume, Alf style, but of course, preferably Echo Fighter. I know you can sort of toss around who's the better Echo Fighter, Edgeworth or Apollo. I think Edgeworth he has too different of a vibe. I don't think you can transfer animations between Phoenix and Edgeworth and have it work as easily as you could Phoenix and Apollo. I refuse to die before I hear Apollo Justice's Pursuit theme remixed for an action game of some sort, like Phoenix got for MVC3. Heck, you could argue Apollo would make a better character than Phoenix because he can do stuff with his perception and the bracelet. But getting Phoenix and getting the new blood, the guy that was, I'm pretty sure was supposed to be the face of the franchise before Capcom just went, Phoenix Wright's more marketable, just throw him back in. That feels like a super harmonious pair, and I just absolutely love Apollo to death. Phoenix Wright, Apollo Justice, I want him, but if it's Monokuma or Makoto, I'll probably still scream just as loud. Which brings us to the fourth entry on this list here. I couldn't make this video without throwing in a fighting game character somewhere, and this is actually a lot harder than you might think. I'm not gonna talk about Scorpion or Liu Kang or Raiden or Sub-Zero. Not because I don't want them, I want them more than any fighting game character out there right now, but they feel like a genuine impossibility, and I'm not gonna take time to talk about something that I feel is truly impossible. That's not what this video is about. So what are you left with? You could do another Street Fighter character. I want Makoto. A lot of people talk about Chun-Li. You could do Akuma or Sakura if you want to get another character you can base on that Shoto archetype. But we got Ryu and Ken. I think the resources can be better spent elsewhere. We don't need another Tekken character. We got Kazuya. The other Mishimas are super similar to him, and the rest of the Tekken roster besides Kuma is boring. No more Tekken characters. Terry with SNK. I think there is a ton of value in bringing in another SNK fighter. Because, I mean, just look at Terry himself, he's representing Fatal Fury, according to Smash Brothers, when SNK is most well known for King of Fighters, when King of Fighters is comprised of Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, Samurai Showdown, KOF original characters, you got Psycho Soldier, you got Metal Slug. Terry did a wonderful job representing as much of SNK as he could, but if you're going to bring in another character from one of these series, I think SNK stands the most to gain. And also, there's an SNK character I happen to like a lot more than other Street Fighter or Tekken poster children. I really want to see Kyo in Smash. Kyo is the hero, the poster boy of SNK's biggest fighting game series. If he was Challenger Pack 11, the end screen would say Smash Brothers X King of Fighters, where Terry's didn't. Beyond just the whatever subjective justifications about why one character is warranted over another, he would just be absurdly fun. He'd be such a joyful, energetic presence in this game, just like Terry was. Kyo is just a punchy, kicky, exploding fire guy. He punches with fire, he kicks with fire, he'll choke you out and explode you with fire. I assume he'd be one of the most aggressive, pressure-based characters in the whole game. He carries a great vibe to him. It's exactly what Terry was, a character that maybe not everyone's excited about in concept, but when you see them in action, you just can't help but love them. And how just amazing and hilarious and awesome would it be to just get another dump of 50 more SNK tracks. There are absolutely 50 more amazing SNK tracks not yet in Smash. And that's like one of the best parts of Terry's pack. Let's go for round 2, come on. But I totally realize that bringing in another character from a fighting game series we technically already have in Smash, sort of, is not going to be appealing to everybody, as much as I think SNK has some of the strongest character design in fighting games. New series, new companies, I get that. And that's difficult, but also not difficult. Like I said, I'm ignoring Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat is the fighting game series we need next, but we're just not gonna get it. So ignoring that, I think most of you listening right now are probably thinking Arc System Works, right? And that's challenging for me specifically, especially with this whole concept I've set up for this video of I really want each character to tick these core boxes that I really care about. And also, you can throw in Sol, you can throw in Ragna, you can throw in Hyde, you could throw in Yu Narukami from the Arc System Works game Persona 4 Arena if you want. And all of them have merit, they're all good choices. I am picking Hyde, and I will explain why. I have said before, I personally just don't like Ragna. I probably need to play more BlazBlue. I know I need to play more BlazBlue, and maybe when I do, I'll get more endeared to the character. But I couldn't sit here and speak passionately to you about Ragna. I'm just not capable. And similar with Sol, I like Sol. I'd rather have Kai, but I'm not gonna say that Kai needs to be in Smash Brothers. So Hyde is ticking all the boxes so far. He's on the right system. He's from the right company. I like him. That helps. And I'm praying and hoping, similar to Astral Chain Hero, I think Hyde has a really promising future for his newer series, at least I hope Under Night wasn't a one and done. Ragna, Sol, much more legacy focused. I tend to really like contemporary choices like Joker, like Byleth, like Min Min, like Pyra. Hyde is the contemporary choice of these characters. And to get the bias out of the way, I don't know if I've expressly said this in a video before, Under Night, my favorite game from Arc System Works. Easily, it's not even close. So that bias does exist there. But Hyde, being the poster boy from that game, I actually do think I would be most excited about his potential in Smash than any other character. Which is interesting, because he is arguably the most Shoto-y Shoto character that's not from Street Fighter. Well, nah, we got Ryo. But besides that. So you would think he'd play very similarly to Ryu and Ken, just with a big red sword. And I don't know, maybe he would, the way they implement him, but not only does that sword just give him reach, he's got a Rekka instead of a Tatsu, and Smash doesn't have enough Rekkas. But for a physics-based fighting game, his projectile, I forget what it's called, the way you can throw it out and sort of explode it and it pops the opponent up, like a projectile that helps you with juggling, that was made for a fighting game that heavily emphasizes dynamic air-based combat like Smash Brothers. Hyde feels very at home in the air when compared to other traditional fighting game characters. It's very weird. He spends a lot of time up above the ground for a traditional 2D fighter. He's weirdly perfect for Smash, and while I would love if he just brought the entire Under Night OST, Under Night has one of the best fighting game soundtracks ever. If you say you think it's the best fighting game soundtrack ever, I'm not gonna argue with you. But of course it would be so great if Hyde could pull a Terry and bring music from all relevant Arc System Works fighting games. I think that'd be a little harder than with SNK. I don't know how the rights pan out for specifically the Guilty Gear music of the world. But if I have to pick the ArcSys character that I think has the most going for him and the least detracting from him, at least as far as appealing to the core values that I personally like to see in the Smash character, I do think it's Hyde. And after Hyde, I'd probably put Ragna before Sol, to be honest. But that said, if one got into Smash, I think logically Sakurai would try to get Sol first. But that's okay. I only agree with Sakurai 99.8% of the time. It's when you start talking about ArcSys characters that 0.2% comes up, and we differ a little bit. It's fine, it's fine. One final note while we're in this fighting game segment here, just because I see it talked about on Twitter a lot. Melty Blood Type Lumina came out yesterday at the time of recording this video, not to date this at all. And a lot of people naturally are talking about Melty Blood in Smash, which is wonderful to see. I love seeing more underground niche stuff like that. A lot of history to it. If they want to throw in an Eltnum, a Shiki, and Arcruid, is that how you say it? I honestly don't know how to say Poster Girl's name. If you want to throw in any of those three, I'm here for it, and I just wanted to mention that because that's probably the trendiest fighting game character to talk about right now. But I sort of cheated by containing that whole fighting game segment into one spot on the list. So, closing out this wish list segment, we have one final character I want to talk about before moving on to discussing a quick overview of the most popular and the most discussed characters to get a state of affairs on them. I'm sure surprising absolutely none of you, I am not letting you get out of this video without me giving a mention to Elma. I mean, it's inevitable. There's no way I wasn't gonna talk about what you think I'm gonna make a video about characters I want in Smash Brothers and not bring up Xenoblade? Why would you think that? Have you never watched one of my videos before, Kyle? Jeez. Sorry. Guy just gets on my nerves sometimes. So Xenoblade, I've talked about it so many times. You know I love it. Xenoblade X is my favorite game in the series. Elma is not the protagonist of that game, but it's not weird anymore. If we can get Pyra and Mythra over Rex, we can get Elma over Cross. It's not weird anymore. And again, if taking a second to remove any of that personal bias, a character who fights with swapping between 2 swords and 2 guns, we don't have anything like that in Smash. I've wanted a true dual-wielding character in some capacity for so long. We have 80 characters in this game, and none of them fight with just 2 swords. It's such a simple thing for a fighting game. Finally get our Xenoblade X music in there, get a stage based on X, one of the most beautiful game worlds I've ever seen. Elma is such an immediately appealing character, like Kyo. I think as soon as people watch Elma in action, what she does, what she looks like, what she sounds like, I think it's going to be a hard sell for everybody. Look, if Fire Emblem Awakening can get all 3 of its protagonists, I can get 1 character from each of my Xenoblade games, alright? Just let me have this. But I am extremely grateful that I got my Xenoblade 2 character, so I will not push or harp on this too much. I am mostly content. Well, see, Xenoblade 2 establishes that the Xenoblade series and the Xenoblade X series are 2 very different things, so if these series are going to go forward, and I hope both of them do, it really does make sense to get an X character in there, because X is a very, very, very different thing than core Xenoblade. I'm moving on. I know, you don't care. I'm moving on. Don't worry. So if I really sit there and think about it, those are the characters, those are the kinds of characters that I think would be really successful inclusions as a final Smash DLC character. Not perfect. There's no such thing as a universally appealing Smash character. I'm not even sure I believe that there is a character out there that would please over 50% of fans, at least not without the help of people that are willing to be happy on behalf of other people. I don't think there's a character that over 50% of Smash fans are actively cheering for. But I do want to take one last chance to talk about the characters that I so frequently try to avoid talking about on this channel. Just the ones you see trending on Twitter, the ones that every default Nintendo discussion channel will always bring up every time a new Smash reveal is coming around. I do want to take this last chance to really dive into both the appeal of those characters, do they stack up to their popularity, why they're so popular, what real chances they have, hopefully in a relatively succinct manner. This is a fairly late addition to this video, but in my head, we have 4 characters in this category, right? Sora from Kingdom Hearts, Crash Bandicoot, Master Chief from Halo, and Waluigi. And as you might recall, I actually said that Master Chief was my most wanted Smash character in my last wish list. Is that still true? Not really. So for that video, I really wanted to end on a big note, I think, and I do want Master Chief, don't get me wrong, but my want of Master Chief is purely for that shocking icon status moment. I truly believe Master Chief is the biggest gaming icon yet to be included in Smash Brothers. He owned and dominated at least one generation of gaming. He was the video game character for at least one console generation. He surpassed Mario. Sonic kinda did, arguably. Crash never came close, Sora never came close, Waluigi, duh. But with Master Chief, I'm just concerned that he's not gonna play very fun. A character running around with a bunch of guns, that just almost never works out well for fighting games, let alone platform fighters. And I don't have much of a personal connection to Master Chief himself. I know he's not the most, rich character in fiction, he's not supposed to be, but even on a personal level, my experience with Halo is not the campaigns. I never had an Xbox growing up. My experience with Halo is going over to a friend's house and playing the multiplayer, which doesn't involve Master Chief at all. So, if he's in, will I be happy? Absolutely, I do want him. My most wanted, not so much. Is he likely? I don't really think so. We got Banjo, we got Steve. Banjo was very important to please that very specific sect of Nintendo fans, that specific age group, that specific demographic that grew up with that specific console and never got the character that they so desperately felt was just squarely missing back in the day, and maybe you didn't get why, and you eventually learned why Banjo because we weren't there. Like, we needed Banjo for that. Steve is probably bigger than either of these. Again, I don't think Steve has like replaced Mario as Mr. Video Game the same way Master Chief did. But I'm not gonna sit here and talk about the prolificness of Minecraft, you know. And I don't think we're gonna end up getting our Triforce completed with Master Chief. It's not. I don't think they're gonna end on a Western character, both a character made in the West and really only appealing to West. Master Chief really doesn't have much of a presence at all in Japan. Which is why I would much rather spend this time right now talking about Sora. I have not finished a single Kingdom Hearts game. I have barely started 3 of them on various occasions. But I actually think that as far as the core Smash community goes, I think Sora is the single most wanted character right now, at least based on what I observe. Actually, for another video that I ended up scrapping, unfortunately, I had to just delve through tons of Smash speculation posts on Twitter and various social media. Easily #1 character that showed up, Sora. It wasn't even close. And a guy that fights with what's basically a sword and slings magic, it's not the most exciting idea just because we have a lot of that already, but I am very confident that Sora can successfully be a unique fighter without feeling too much like Hero or like Robin, although Hero and Robin do get compared a lot. I can't add too much to the conversation, but of anyone we're going to talk about today, Sora is the character that, if I see Sora revealed, I will be the most excited I could possibly be on behalf of other people. I am sincerely rooting for you guys to get your character, even if I cannot be excited for him along with you. And absolutely Sora is likely. I don't think Disney is an issue. Square does have some very apparent challenges that have been very well documented, but I don't think those challenges would prevent Sora from getting in the game. And again, Sakurai saying it's a celebration of Japanese gaming, you'll be hard-pressed to find a bigger Japanese gaming icon that's not in Smash yet than Sora. If he specifically wants to go out with a big character, I am saying I believe Sora is the best one he could possibly grab. But I bet a lot of you don't agree with that statement. And if you are disagreeing with that statement, I would bet the character you have in mind is Crash Bandicoot. And hey, I totally see why. I gotta be honest, I don't think he's got a lot going for him. Like Master Chief, very Western. I don't really see. I can see Nintendo working with that company, but I don't think we really want Nintendo working with that company, right? And brutal honesty, I think Crash would be so boring in a fighting game, which is something I also felt about Banjo, and in my opinion ended up becoming true. I think Banjo is not only not the best designed character from a fighting game perspective, I think he's just boring in his execution of what his moveset does and what the character is capable of, and I think Crash would be very similar. Not that he can't be in, I think he would pale in comparison to the wonderfully expressive characters Fighters Pass 2 has given us so far. I feel like I always end up going in on Crash a lot harder than I intend to, because I did grow up liking his games. I grew up with a PS1, I grew up with both Crash 2 and Crash Bash. But other than just wanting an icon on the roster because they're an icon and people like to see Smash as a video game Hall of Fame, I don't see the appeal of Crash. I wouldn't be excited to turn on my game and play as him. That's why I had Spyro on the last wishlist. Beyond liking Spyro more, playing as a tiny dragon, I think that's more fun than playing as a spinny Bandicoot. Now, I've saved Mr. Waluigi for last, not only because I think he is next to Sora as being a genuinely likely inclusion for this final pass, because Sakurai, I think, is keenly aware of the demand. It'd be a very easy character to grab because it's first party, and a Mario character is never not gonna sell. But beyond that, I said Sora was the most demanded character I saw among core Smash fans, but and this is completely anecdotal, I realize, but, you know, the world's been opening back up recently. I've been getting out, talking to more people, seeing more people, and I've been able to talk about Smash with a lot more people who I would consider relatively casual Smash fans, people that are just vaguely aware of its existence and what it's all about. And I was very surprised to find almost all, I'm talking like 80 to 90%, all mention Waluigi. Either wanting Waluigi or acknowledging that a lot of people want Waluigi and they're surprised that he's not in the game yet with how much demand there is. That's not... I can much more concretely say that Sora is the most wanted among Smash fans than I can Waluigi is among casual Smash fans that aren't in the know as much, but from my experience, people still are really passionate about this guy. And I'm just not. I don't care about him. But moveset potential is there. He's done so many wacky things across so many games, and if people love him, if people want him, sure, go for it. Make those people happy. I think Waluigi would maybe sell the most individual challenger packs of anyone here, and because of how easy he'd be to throw in, I think he's up there with Sora as being one of the more likely characters I'm talking about today. Do I think Fighter Pass 2 will end on a bang? I struggle to say, because what a bang is different to many people. If it was literally any character that I talked about today, I would consider that going out on a bang, but I know most of you listening probably heard at least one character today that you are not as passionate about as I am, or don't think would be as profound an inclusion as I do, and that's fine. But if we go by the more colloquial definition of it needs to be a giant third-party icon from a hugely successful series that isn't represented in Smash, do I think that's going to happen? I think the odds are against it. I mean, going back, if you want to follow the Byleth model and the general model people identify that Smash always ends on disappointments, which I think can be disputed a little bit, but if you want to say Smash ends in a disappointment, Gen 8 Pokemon, great chance for that. The protagonist of some new upcoming game, I can't even think what Nintendo games are going on. Someone from Advanced Wars? I wouldn't be too... I like Advanced Wars, I don't know how excited I'd be for a character, but a part of me thinks Smash is going to be business as usual. They're not going to save the biggest character for last or anything like that, but also, there's no way Sakurai and the team don't know, right? You know, with Smash 4... When Smash 4 ended, he probably knew that they were going to make DLC for the game. And when Smash 4 DLC was done, he already knew he was going to start working on Ultimate, and then Ultimate ended, he knew he was going to get DLC. This is the first time, unless there's information we don't have, which is very possible, this is the first time that the Smash team is delivering us a character, and they know full well it could be the last. And I think they're keenly aware of that, and maybe they're gonna take that opportunity to really make something special out of it. What that means, I don't know. It could be all sorts of stuff, but I guess I'm trying to speak to both audiences, right? I want to say, if you're the kind of person saying it has to be Master Chief or bust, temper your expectations. If you're going in a complete pessimist and you think there's no way it's going to be a cool character, have a little faith. Unless you're the kind of guy that, like, you have, like, your 3 characters you want, and if it's none of them you're gonna say it's a disappointment, then I can't help you there. To wrap up, for those of you that have stuck around this long, thank you, sincerely. Just do your best to enjoy it. Do your best to appreciate it. This is the last time we're gonna be able to have an event like this, you know? Smash gets a lot of mud slung at it these days, but no matter how much mud you sling at Smash Brothers, if you're watching this video, you like this game. You like Smash Brothers, or you just like listening to me talk, but more than likely you are here because you like Smash Brothers, and this thing you like is about to go away. So maybe you didn't love Steve, maybe you didn't love Pyra, maybe you're down on Fighter Pass 2, I don't know. Try to appreciate the fact that it's the last time we're going to be able to have and celebrate an event like this. That probably sounds really corny, maybe a little pretentious, but I think it's really important. Don't look back on these 3 years we've had with Ultimate and have all your memories be complaining and disappointment. Like, this Smash Ultimate is an absolutely unprecedented piece of media in how many worlds it's managed to bring together, and as the team has said it's themselves, we may not get another game like this ever. It might just simply not be possible. So you know what I'm getting at this point. Enjoy it while we have it. We're gonna get one more moment of fun before the roster is finalized. Let's appreciate it. Let me know any character thoughts you have down below. Thank you so much for sticking to the end. I know it was a long one, and I will hopefully see you in a few days to talk about the final Smash character. Take care, all of you.